the average directional index, ADX, minus directional indicator, minus DI, and plus directional indicator, plus DI, represent a group of directional movement indicators that form a trading system developed by Welles Wilder. Although Wilder designed his directional movement system with commodities and daily prices in mind, these indicators can also be applied to stocks. Positive and negative directional movement form the backbone of the directional movement system. Wilder determined directional movement by comparing the difference between two consecutive lows with the difference between their respective highs. The plus directional indicator, plus DI, and minus directional indicator, minus DI, are derived from smoothed averages of these differences and measure trend direction over time. These two indicators are often collectively referred to as the Directional Movement Indicator, DMI. The average directional index, ADX, is in turn derived from the smoothed averages of the difference between plus DI and minus DI. It measures the strength of the trend, regardless of direction, over time. Using these three indicators together, chartists can determine both the direction and strength of the trend. Wilder features the directional movement indicators in his 1978 book, New Concepts in Technical Trading Systems. This book also includes details on average true range, ATR, the parabolic SAR system and RSI. Despite being developed before the computer age, Wilder's indicators are incredibly detailed in their calculation and have stood the test of time. Directional movement is calculated by comparing the difference between two consecutive lows with the difference between their respective highs. Directional movement is positive, plus, when the current high minus the prior high is greater than the prior low minus the current low. This plus directional movement, plus DM, then equals the current high minus the prior high, provided it is positive. A negative value would simply be entered as 0. Directional movement is negative, minus, when the prior low minus the current low is greater than the current high minus the prior high. This minus directional movement, minus DM, equals the prior low minus the current low, provided it is positive. A negative value would simply be entered as 0. The chart on the screen shows 4 calculation examples for directional movement. The first pairing shows a big positive difference between the highs for a strong plus directional movement, plus DM. The second pairing shows an outside day with minus directional movement, minus DM, getting the edge. The third pairing shows a big difference between the lows for a strong minus directional movement, minus DM. The final pairing shows an inside day, which amounts to no directional movement, 0. Both plus directional movement, plus DM, and minus directional movement, minus DM, are negative and revert to 0, so they cancel each other out. All inside days will have 0 directional movement.